Let's jump right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking something that's honestly been quietly transforming the modern workplace. We're talking about engagement analytics. Once you actually see how the underlying data of an organization is structured, it completely flips how you view team dynamics. It's a real game changer. So, let's dive into it.
So, how do you predict disengagement? I mean, it's a million-dollar question, right? Literally, when you factor in the massive cost of replacing top talent. The really dangerous thing about unseen employee disengagement is that it's just so silent. Someone slowly disconnects, productivity takes a hit, and then before leadership even realizes there's a problem, that person has walked out the door. So how on earth do we spot those invisible signs before it's too late?
Okay, let's dive into this. The answer, and really the hero of our explainer today, is engagement analytics. Now, I want you to think of this system less like some boring, static HR spreadsheet and a lot more like a highly tuned engine. And just like any engine, it needs very specific fuel to run and give us valuable outputs. Outputs like identifying morale trends and predicting those disengagement risks we just talked about. Let's break down exactly how this engine operates.
Section 1. 3 vital data inputs. Let's look at the raw fuel that powers this analytical engine.
This system relies on 3 primary data levers. We've got pulse surveys, sentiment analysis, and NPS scores. Now, these components work perfectly together to form a complete, holistic picture. Let's break these down individually so you can see exactly what we're feeding into the machine.
All right, first up, pulse surveys. You know those massive 50-question annual reviews that absolutely everyone dreads filling out? Yeah, these are not that. Pulse surveys are targeted and they're frequent. Think of it like a quick 2-question ping on a random Tuesday afternoon. This captures the immediate, real-time heartbeat of an organization continuously, always feeding the system with fresh data.
Now, what's really interesting here is what happens next. We process that feedback using sentiment analysis. And this isn't just looking at the literal words people type out. It evaluates the underlying tone. Is the language optimistic, frustrated, maybe just exhausted? By leveraging this, the engine basically reads between the lines of the raw data to isolate the actual nuance of employee emotions.
Finally, we add eNPS, which stands for Employee Net Promoter Scores. While sentiment analysis gives us that emotional tone, eNPS provides a hard, quantifiable baseline. It basically asks, would you recommend working here to a friend? That numerical foundation gives the engine a solid, trackable metric to anchor all that subjective feedback we just gathered.
Section 2. From trends to predictions. Let's shift gears and look at what this engine actually outputs.
What we're dealing with here is a really critical temporal shift. We have morale trends on one side and disengagement risks on the other. This is essentially the difference between the present state and future forecasting. The system doesn't just tell you what's happening right now in the moment, it reveals what's highly likely to happen next.
Let's look at that present tense output first, identifying morale trends. When you combine the heartbeat of those pulse surveys, the emotional tone from the sentiment analysis, and the numerical baseline of eNPS, the data reveals your current cultural reality. Are people totally energized by a new project, or are they collectively burning out? You no longer have to guess, because the trend is laid out right there for you. But here is where the whole thing becomes incredibly powerful. It predicts disengagement risks. Think about why this matters. Predicting a risk before someone actually quits is infinitely more valuable than reacting after they've packed up their desk, right? If you spot a downward NPS trend paired with some negative sentiment, leadership can actually intervene, offer support, and retain their best people way before they reach the point of no return. So, the crucial point is that the entire journey looks like this. Step 1, you leverage your data inputs, the surveys, the sentiment, the scores. Step 2, you process all that fuel to identify the current morale trends. And then step 3, you use those trends to predict future disengagement risks. It's an incredibly direct, logical flow from raw input to highly actionable output.
I want to leave you with a question to think about today. Are you predicting risks, or are you just reacting? Think about the blind spots in the organizations around you. Without a structured mechanism to unpack this kind of data, most companies are honestly just waiting for a resignation letter to arrive on their desk. I hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity about the immense value of turning raw feedback into actual foresight. Thanks for joining me, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.